morning, everyone. It's Yvonne here to do your What's Cracking reading. A couple of things. I know somebody wrote to me yesterday and asked about the star sign readings. At the moment, I've got so much on, it's just too difficult for me to spend the time doing them. I used to do them all in one go, which used to take me several hours. I would like to get back to them, but I'm not going to promise when that's going to be. I start a new position next week. So I'm thinking that I either look at doing one sign a day rather than missing out on altogether. So we'll see how we go. The problems with the sound apparently are not so much, and I've had a lot of people write to me and say they're having the same issues with YouTube. Some videos are really, really good, others are not so good, and apparently sometimes it can happen with even just two of mine. So I'm sorry that you're experiencing issues, but it's got something to do with the way YouTube loads up videos. I think that's everything I just want to mention this morning, but if I think of anything else along the way, I certainly will raise it. We're going to use the Rider-Waite Tarot for the What's Cracking reading this morning, and I have the Eight of Cups coming out here, which for me is a card of walking away from things that emotionally do not serve you anymore. So that doesn't mean you're permanently walking away. It means that you're going perhaps to have time out to think about what you want to do and how you're going to do it. It may be that you've set some sort of limit on someone and you're giving them time to have a think about what they want. It can mean that you may walk away forever, but a lot of the time it's just a temporary pause. All right, let's see what else is happening here. So we have the Ten of Cups here, which is quite interesting because the Eight of Cups, of course, to get to the 10, we need the Two of Cups. And that always says to me that perhaps here you're trying to get something out of some sort of relationship or situation where you feel like you need to put in that effort, where you need to say, well, okay, this is what I want and this is where I want to go. Are you going to be on board with me? The Ten of Cups is a beautiful card because it talks about happiness, happy families, things all being in the right place, the love flowing, you know, and it is a card of great happiness. It's sort of like the sun, but only the sort of minor version of the sun. But that says to me that somehow walking away from something, you're going to find your own happiness. So we'll have to see whether that is a permanent walking away or no, there's some conflict here. So there's a situation here that's come up for you that you're not getting that Ten of Cups. You're not getting that. And somehow or another, you're realizing that the only way you can achieve what you're looking for is to either walk away, start again and invest in yourself, or alternatively say to whoever you're dealing with, this isn't what I want more from this situation. And I feel like that's why the conflict card's coming up. You know, it's really funny. The Two of Swords is a card that for me can have a lot of different meanings. It is about a decision, but the person doesn't want to make the decision. They're wearing a blindfold. And this could be, you know what needs to be done, but you're just not taking action. This particular person has the arms crossed across her heart. So for me, that implies that this decision, whatever it is, will hurt, ultimately. But this person is stuck. They're stuck. They have their emotions behind them, so they're stuck in their emotions. They can't choose either sword. And don't forget, the swords represent either communication or cutting something out. And this person knows they have to make a decision. I always think with the moon here, it's sort of like that energy of maybe this person doesn't have all the information and maybe they're making a choice based on the fact that they have very little information. They're stuck in their emotional state. They are at a stalemate. What I feel like here, this energy coming through, is you're in a position where you're going to have to call an ultimatum. I don't think you want to. I think that you are trying to turn a blind eye to something, but I feel ultimately this is what's happening here. It's like I need to speak up. Do I stay or do I go? All right, so there's disappointment here, but stability behind that. So what I'm feeling here is in order to perhaps achieve what you want, whether that is within yourself or within a partnership, you have to make a choice to leave the past behind and move forward. So you may be clinging on to a relationship or a situation, quite possibly a marriage here, because you don't want to face the truth. So we all do that. Absolutely. You know, sometimes we just don't want the conflict. Sometimes we're scared of the conflict, but we're also fearful of the unknown here, especially with all this emotion here. you're trying to calm the emotion, but it's not really bringing you the satisfaction you want. And the only way you know is to just let the past go and move forward, but you're still focused on that past energy. The thing is, the Two of Cups again here, you know, this energy of perhaps if you speak up for what you want, perhaps if you ask for what you want, you're going to get it here. But the fear of doing that is sort of coming through in the cards here. I feel like, yeah, for some of you, you may be going it alone here. I feel like some of you walking away from a relationship or something here where you've sort of not got the stability that you wanted from this. So you could have invested in something or someone thinking, you know, this was going to be around for the future. It looked really good, but perhaps it's not bringing you. I feel like a lot of the time with relationships especially, whether they're with friends or whether they're with romantic partners, when you first meet, you're so much in that state of, you know, being thrilled by the pairing or being thrilled by the friendship that you tend to sort of overlook any little hiccups that are coming along. And by the time you realize there are hiccups there, you've ignored them for quite some time. So I'm sure the other person does that with you too. But there's always that feeling like later on, you know, because you've sort of coasted along like that, that maybe, you know, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. But I feel like here, whatever you've let go, you've accepted with that Five of Cups. You've accepted it for some time. And I feel like perhaps now you're worried about speaking up because you might lose the person. But it's really interesting because I always say, you know, if that person walks away, if you raise your own thoughts and feelings, if you ask for what you want and the other person says no, then at least you've found out. Otherwise, you're going to be living your life like this forever in a state of not feeling satisfied by things. So whatever this situation is for you, I feel like you're making a decision here on whether to keep persevering or whether to walk away. I love this because the Queen of Cups is telling me here, you could be a Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio yourself, but this is definitely your energy. And for me, this means that you're deciding on you, regardless of what you feel about the other person. You're putting yourself first here. Perhaps you've gone through this before and you've fallen into the same pattern again. Or perhaps you've met the same person with a different face, as I say. But sometimes this can be friendship that you just have to say, you know what, this friendship is not two ways. It's a one-sided friendship. It can be a relationship with a parent or a sibling or cousin, and you're realizing you're doing all the work and the other person's not sort of pulling their weight. But with the Queen of Cups, look, she's very intent on her own cup here. She knows she needs to look after herself. So I feel like this is where you've got to. It's like you've realized that you're important in this scenario. Okay, so we have the Four of Pentacles. Yeah, look at that. That just speaks for itself, that whole sort of setup here. You're clinging on to something purely because you don't want to let it go. So it might be that you're scared of being alone. It might be that you really feel like you love someone and you don't want to let them go. But in the meantime, you're building resentment and anger and, you know, getting a bit cheesed off that you're not getting back what you want from the relationship, but still you're refusing to let go. You know, when you're hanging on to things like this, you're hanging on to the energy and not allowing it to flow. So this means that you're sort of holding yourself back from having what you want as well, because you're in the energy of sort of, you know, uptightness. And because of that, you're not flowing with the universe. So it makes it very difficult when you're in this energy to manifest or bring to you what you want to have. So maybe you don't want to let this person go because of the money. Maybe financially they've been, you know, a bit of a support for you and you feel like you can't make it alone. I can tell you, you'd be surprised what you can do when you walk away from a relationship. And that's what's happening here. There's a completion. Everything's been full circle. So I feel like for many of you, there is a separation or walking away from something in order to have a brand new beginning. Now, again, I feel like here I need to say that maybe this isn't finished. Maybe if you want this in the motion of walking away and saying this isn't right for me, you may propel the person that you're with to put in more effort or to understand they don't want to lose you. But if they've grown accustomed to the way you've been treating them for a really long time, maybe they're not seeing, and they need to have an opportunity to see how to fix it if that's what you want. So for example, if you're in a relationship where you have been constantly investing in someone because of the way you feel about them, it's like the lovely life coaches I always talk about, romance coach, dating coach, Matthew always talks about, you know, the fact that you shouldn't base a relationship on how much you love that person, but how much that person is willing to invest in you. So if this person isn't investing in you, is it really a relationship? So here I see you releasing and I see a brand new beginning, but I have to say to you, maybe this beginning is with this person that you may have made aware of the way they've been towards the relationship. They may not have been bad. They may not have been mean. They may have just been, it's Matthew Hussey, they may have just been sort of, I want to say, ignorant to what's been going on. Maybe it's always been that way and they've accepted that that's the way it is. You know, if you look at raising a child, for example, if you constantly give a child something without having a healthy boundary, eventually the child will expect that to come. And when you don't give it to them, they chuck a tantrum. But if you're constantly saying to a child, well, actually, that's not going to happen until this happens, and you're consistent with that, then eventually that child starts to know, well, if I don't clean my bedroom, I don't get pocket money. Or if I don't, you know, put my plate in the sink after my dinner, or I don't clear up after myself, well, then this will happen in the future. And I feel this is what's happening here. For some of you, I really feel that pulling this sort of out and saying, well, that's it, I'm done, and doing it, not just threatening, because remember, threatening, after a while, threatening becomes non-plus. You can threaten for a while if you've got the person under your control. You can threaten for a while and it means something, but eventually the threats become empty. All right, so Six of Pentacles. So this is definitely about somebody not putting in the effort. Definitely, because this card's come out, which is always for me that equal give and take. And I have had people argue about the equal. I don't mean it has to be exactly percentage for percentage. It means what you're putting in, you're getting back. You could be putting in finances like with a child, but you still expect respect back or love back, regardless of who you are. And if you don't expect something in return, then there is not a healthy connection. And I hear that all the time, you know, do something for somebody without expecting something in return. Well, I'm sorry, I don't really believe that at all. Even if it's a thank you or gratefulness, you do expect something in return. So when I say equal, I mean energy exchange. Oh, wow. Okay, so we have an Emperor coming through here with the Justice card. There's a lesson for you to learn here. This is not about the other. Well, it probably is a lesson for the other person as well. But there's a lesson to be learned here. Somebody here, because the Emperor for me, yeah, sure, it talks about somebody being well educated and very experienced. But the Emperor can be somebody who is just used to getting their own way. They can be very forthright, outspoken, pushy, controlling as well. But the Justice card hits up right next to it. So I feel like for some of you here, this is a huge lesson for you to learn about how to have a healthy relationship. And when I say healthy, that equal exchange of energy. So, you know, you may be paying for somebody, you may be supporting someone, you may be putting all your money and energy into someone, but if they're not showing that they're grateful or at least giving you respect back, then there is no equal exchange. And this, for me, the Justice card here tells me there's a karmic lesson to be learned here. You're learning something here. You're learning the balance. Look, if you have a look at both these cards, see, they both have scales in them. So you're learning that what comes in goes out, energy-wise. All right, so we have the Tower coming through. Big lesson to be learned with the Moon card. All major arcana all the way through here, so there's a big lesson here. Nine of, yeah, see? Okay, so for some of you here, you have a repeating pattern. You may have done this more than once. You may have been doing it with the same person. So for example, you speak up and say, that's not the way I want things, I'd like it this way. And your person says, yeah, sure. But then 5 minutes down the road, they're doing the same thing again. And that's what the wounded warrior does. They keep going round in circles, expecting a different result, but doing the same thing. This is the empty threats card. You know, when you stand up, you say, right, that's it. If you behave that way, I'm leaving. But then 5 minutes later, you're doing the same thing again. If you behave that way, I'm leaving. If you do that way, I'm going to ground you. If you do that way, there are consequences, but you don't push forward. Why? Because you don't want to get hurt. You may be scared of conflict. You may be scared of the loss. You may be scared of doing things alone. You may be scared somebody won't love you anymore. But actually, we know with boundaries, healthy boundaries, you get more respect and more love out of a person if you have self-respect. And that's what this person is learning here. The moon and the tower, sort of for me, are really this energy of understanding how to do something differently and accepting maybe you haven't done it well before, but now understanding you're going to do it differently and it's going to be better for you. There's a really strong feeling with the tower here that you're breaking down a lot of old barriers. Sometimes these can be learned as a child. If your parent taught you a certain way, if you've learned codependency, for example, through your parents, then you're going to be codependent with your own children and your own relationships. But perhaps you don't realize that because your parents taught you, so it seems normal to you. But the moon card here says to me that you're harboring deep emotion here. You're holding on to stuff that you really need to let go of. You're holding on. This guy here, that's when you start to harbor resentment, anger. You start to feel disrespected and unloved. But you keep going because you think, oh, well, you know, maybe this will change. But you know what? Change starts with you. If you stay in this energy, you're going to keep going round and round in this energy. So I feel like for some of you here, you're going to be speaking up. We can put a couple of extra cards on it. All right, so we have the 10 of Cups. So you're after the 10 of Cups, but it feels like there's some sort of conflict and a decision needs to be made because at the moment you're living in the past. Now, for some of you, this will be about a relationship, but I feel like here the universe is saying the only way to move forward here is to invest in yourself. How do you invest in yourself? Well, you don't keep giving the power to the other person, whoever they are. You remember you are number one, regardless of what's going on. Without you, the other person wouldn't exist the way they do. Let's have a little look at this 9 of Wands here before we pull an oracle card. I'll pull them at random. All right, I have the Page of Swords here. Wow, you really are speaking up here and making some sort of offer. This is part of your soul's growth here. So like I said here, this is a karmic lesson. This is how you're growing. So you will keep repeating the pattern until you understand change needs to take place. And once that change takes place, I see someone offering you something more. So for some of you here, you may have been dealing with somebody for a long while, expecting them to marry you or to end up in a partnership. You may be still floundering with this person, going backwards and forwards. I feel like you've tried to communicate, but I don't feel you've really come through here. You need to communicate your thoughts and feelings because I feel like here somebody will come in and offer you something much more in line with your future if you speak up for yourself. And I see you doing that here. All right, let's read a Rumi oracle. Beautiful. Passion of the Wild Red Mother. Card 36, which of course is the number 9. Oh, overshot. Don't ask the conscious ones about the wine, Behold the glowing effect of it in the eyes of drunks. Okay. I'll just read the oracle message for you here. This oracle comes to you with a message. It's a big cosmic yes. It is also an invitation to let go of suffering and struggle, not with regret or shame, but with gentle acknowledgement that it has had its purpose. It now has a bigger purpose, that of passion, which calls you to engage in the embrace of life with more abandon than ever before. Now is the time to let go of belief systems and needing to know anything. It is time to trust the bearing of your own heart and in the people, places and experiences that truly move you, whether it makes sense or appears to be logical or not. The Wild Red Mother comes to you when you are ready for her at a soul level. You might think she's a thief in the night, ready to pilfer all you hold near and dear, and be utterly in terror at the prospect. But your soul will be gurgling with such anticipation of freedom, it will fill your heart with sweet love and urge you to let go. Let her have her way with you, even if it means she crashes you in the dark as she fumbles and drags you half asleep to go out dancing with her under the full moon, wearing nothing but your animal skin and a smile. She'll soothe any bumps and bruises you'll receive in opening up to life with the most tender and effective of ministrations, for she is just as tender a nurse as she is a wild, raging dance partner. You have divine permission here to do something ridiculous. Be it ridiculous in your own mind for your age or career path, or some identity or version of yourself or another hold. The more ridiculous or inappropriate it seems, the more it moves you from the heart without rhyme or reason, the better. This is not about hurting people or behaving without moral code. It's not about childish indulgence and questionable justification for letting the ego misbehave. It's not about the ego at all. The Wild Red Mother eats ego for breakfast. I love that. This guidance is about listening to the truth of your heart and allowing your soul to throb with aliveness, making that more important than any restriction, opinion, judgment, or fear the mind, yours or that of others, could summon. So you're definitely given permission here to move forward. 22:12 on the clock, folks. Have a wonderful weekend.